In 2024, South Korea gained global attention with peaceful protests calling for the impeachment of its president. Led by women in their 20s and 30s, the protests had a celebratory atmosphere, with participants waving light sticks and singing K-pop songs. However, during the same time, a completely different scene unfolded elsewhere. Here, participants concealed their identities with masks, sunglasses, and hats. Around them, men mocked and insulted them, with some secretly taking photos of the participants to spread online. What explains the difference between these two protests?
The main demands of the Dongduk Women's University protest were to condemn the anti-democratic academic administration and to end discussions about transitioning to a co-educational system. However, in November, as meetings between the former Student Council Naran and the university administration took place, the focus shifted mainly to denouncing anti-democratic practices due to attention drawn to the administration's lack of communication and disrespectful behavior during the talks. Additionally, after revelations of private school corruption and overwhelming support for a direct election of the university president in the student assembly, this demand became one of the key issues of the protest.
On November 5, 2024, rumors started circulating in the student community of Dongduk Women's University that the school was transitioning to a co-educational system. When mention emerged that some professors had mentioned the change, students searched for the university's name on portal sites to verify the information. The search results revealed that the male student enrollment rate at Dongduk Women's University was 0.1%. indicating that male students were already present at the university. What was even more shocking was that these students weren't international or exchange students, but undergraduate male students majoring in Korean language and culture. The university had admitted 6 male students as extra quota admissions, yet no discussions had taken place with the student body, nor had any prior notice been given. In response, students launched full-scale protests to make their opposition to the transition clear. Why did students take to the streets so quickly? For years, the university administration had maintained an undemocratic stance, refusing to communicate with students. In 2022, during the Areti Academic Communication Meeting, the administration discussed merging the business administration, international business, and economics departments. When students protested, the administration responded that it was only a discussion, no decision had been made, and no such merger would take place. However, in 2024, the merger was unilaterally carried out without students' consent. 2 years earlier, despite strong opposition from nutrition and food science students, the Obesity Research Center was demolished unilaterally. Meanwhile, students repeatedly raised concerns about the lack of full-time faculty, but the number of professors continued to decline. The transition to a co-educational system follows the same pattern. In 2024, Dongduk Women's University recorded the highest admission competition rates among women's universities in Seoul, with an average of 16.8 to 1 for early admissions and 8.44 to 1 for regular admissions. Despite this, the administration is pushing for an unnecessary transition to a co-educational system. Meanwhile, the university faces severe facility and safety issues. Ceilings collapsed in 5 buildings, leading to structural damage and leaks. The school's sports field is also at risk of collapse, preventing booths from being set up in the center during campus festivals. In 2023, a tragic incident occurred on campus due to the lack of proper safety measures. This was the result of the administration ignoring complaints for 6 years, despite repeated warnings about safety risks caused by poor facility maintenance. After the tragedy, the university refused to release CCTV footage, even at the request of the victim's family, and failed to set up a memorial spot. In the end, students created their own memorial, and the long-neglected safety measures were finally installed just 2 days after the incident. Yet the university never issued an official apology. The university had never taken students' concerns seriously. This deep-seated distrust is why students felt they had no choice but to protest immediately. The university cancelled meetings with students, citing their silent protest as the reason. the university also attempted legal action against peaceful protests, such as chanting slogans or displaying department jackets on the ground. Additionally, it avoided meetings by using the excuse that it would be difficult to hold a meeting if there was a protest near the meeting location, essentially holding communication hostage to block students' protests. To engage in dialogue, students held a general assembly and passed resolutions opposing the transition to a co-educational system and calling for a direct election of the university president. A total of 1,973 students participated, more than 3 times the required quorum, yet the administration chose to ignore their decision. Amid these circumstances, students carried out a graffiti protest. However, the university strongly opposed the protest and filed a lawsuit seeking damages of approximately $1.63 million to $3.6 million US. Despite a difference of $1.97 million US, they failed to provide an estimate to justify the amount. On November 25th, police confirmed that Dongduk Women's University had not filed any official reports or complaints regarding the spray painting. This suggests that the university's claim of massive damage was unfounded. Meanwhile, the exaggerated media coverage of the $3.6 million USD claim led to online harassment against students based on false information. The university justified its lawsuit by claiming that the spray paint was permanent. However, cleaning companies confirmed that it could be removed easily using a solvent. So, after the protests, did the university finally listen to its students?
Surprisingly, there has been no real progress in addressing our concerns. We would be thankful if the posters written by students were just left alone. The university doesn't communicate with us at all, and naturally, our demands have not been taken into account. The university announced the creation of a committee to gather student opinions, set to launch in March. However, since it follows the same structure as the previous, superficial council that was only formally operated, it cannot truly be seen as an improvement. It is hard to believe that the opinion-gathering process will be transparent. As evidence of this, the university administration previously used student survey results as a basis for academic restructuring. However, upon investigation, it was revealed that the survey had never actually been conducted.
The university seems more focused on suppressing students than reflecting on their opinions. The traces of student protests are still being recklessly erased. Protest posters are being torn down, and university jackets are being forcibly collected. The administration demands that students reveal their names and departments if they wish to put up protest posters. Students argued that tearing down posters constitutes property damage and is clearly unconstitutional. However, the university absurdly countered by claiming that postering posters itself is illegal. Students independently verified that the fire safety regulations and other clauses the university used as a basis for collecting department jackets could not legally justify the forced removal or collection of them. The school portal uploaded announcements regarding student group assemblies and student promotional materials, and the investigation by the Student Activity Support Committee. These notices demand that students obtain the university's permission before posting any protest posters. Assemblies are based on a notification system, not a permit system. And according to school regulations, event approvals only apply to advertisements and promotional materials. Posters are allowed as long as the date of collection is indicated, and similar regulations have already been deemed violations of fundamental rights by the National Human Rights Commission. In January, the university announced that all student-posted notices on campus would be removed between January 6th and 9th. In protest, students held demonstrations for 4 days. However, by January 10th, the university had removed all the posters. The university did not release CCTV footage regarding the tragedy that occurred in 2023, but they are now reviewing the footage to identify students who participated in the protests. The university also expressed its intention to conduct an investigation into the incidents that occurred after November 11th, 2024, including illegal occupation of campus buildings, disruption of classes, interference with professors' offices, and the disruption of the orchestra department's graduation concert on November 12th. They sent registered mail regarding the investigation to students whose identities were identified. However, some of these students were simply those who commuted to school, and it was unclear why they were included as subjects for disciplinary action. Moreover, the registered mail did not include the exact details of the display actions, and there were procedural errors, such as incorrect spelling of students' names. After the martial law on December 3rd, when students who had occupied the main building urgently evacuated, the school hired a private security company to block students' access. This measure continued even after the university president's order was lifted on January 1st. When students asked for the reason, the school responded saying, "We don't know who the 21 students who received the injunction are." The university administration is blocking the access of 6,000 students just because they don't know the identities of the 21 students who received the injunction. Moreover, the school removed the emergency escape ladder, citing concerns about potential student occupations.
I was angry and sad, but more than anything, I felt ashamed. When the misogynistic group of men filed for a public assembly in front of the school just stood by, saying they didn't understand the legal procedure for the injunction. Yet they proceeded to deliver the injunction to 21 students. When threatening posts like threats of stabbing were made, the school merely responded with, "It is unfortunate." Recently, the school demanded students attend disciplinary investigations, claiming that the university's reputation had been tarnished by them. This was despite procedural errors and flaws in the certified mail notifications. The school's responses have been completely haphazard. I am deeply embarrassed and angered by the school's contradictory attitude and deception. It is clear that the school sees students not as adults or active agents, but as passive individuals who are simply ignorant of the law.
Who is Jo Won-young, the central figure in this case? Jo Won-young is the grandson of Jo Dong-sik, the founder of Dongduk Academy. In 2003, it was revealed that he had embezzled $5.31 million from tuition and school funds, which led to his resignation as president. However, in 2015, he was appointed as the chairman of the foundation. The statue that was covered in eggs and waste during the protest depicts Jo Won-young's grandfather, Jo Dong-sik, a pro-Japanese figure. He was someone who was loyal to Japan to the extent of writing pro-Japanese editorials for the front page of the Japanese colonial government's official newspaper, Mail Shinbo. After benefiting from dynastic succession and nepotism, Jo Won-young returned to the school and began suppressing students' voices by establishing new regulations requiring prior notification for off-campus protests by student organizations. In 2016, he purchased a luxury house in Pyeongchang-dong for $1.29 million under the guise of using it for educational purposes. After receiving tax benefits, including a $40,000 acquisition tax exemption and annual property tax reductions of $2,000, he used the house as his own. When this was discovered, he claimed it was an educational facility. Additionally, the salaries of his family members on staff increased by 40% to 70%, while issues such as steel wool being found in student meals were ignored. Meanwhile, the board of directors held meetings at luxury steakhouses in Gangnam, spending an average of $5,000 per meeting. Despite the withholding of scholarships for student council members and ongoing issues of school fund embezzlement, the university is pushing for a tuition increase, citing financial difficulties. When a student representative suggested a 3% increase in tuition, an alumni representative demanded a 4% increase, stating, "It's an amount that can be covered by saving on coffee. So don't be overly sensitive about trivial matters and just compromise." The economics department offers only 6 classes, leaving most students unable to enroll in classes despite paying tuition. Students attend lectures without full-time professors in buildings with collapsing ceilings and water leaks, yet they are still expected to pay higher tuition fees. On the day Jo Won-young returned to campus, the school removed all protest posters. After 70 days away, he personally tore down posters, saying, "Why put up posters in the first place? It's illegal, you know. Illegal." As students attempted to put the posters back up, school staff forcibly pulled them away and filmed their faces. They mocked the students, hurled insults, and openly displayed a threatening attitude while recording them. Then, how did the media and society respond to this situation? Some media outlets uncritically echoed the school's stance, portraying students negatively without proper fact-checking. This contributed to creating a hostile public opinion against the students. Students became targets of mockery and criticism, with malicious rumors spreading and even threats suggesting that they would face disadvantages in their future careers. Beyond mere criticism, society attacked the students with sexual harassment and insults. Some even created and distributed AI-generated defamatory videos using students' faces, causing severe secondary harm.
If an educational institution does not protect its students and fails to listen to their opinions, I don't understand what education means at Dongduk Women's University. This situation has led us to reflect on how we can more skillfully and effectively raise our voices, and it has forced us to confront the school's anti-democratic history. I believe it has become a means to turn our determination not to comply with the school's oppression into action. On December 3rd, Dongduk Women's University students had already clearly experienced anti-democracy. Through this campus crisis, we learned how to be angry and how to stand against injustice. The students of Dongduk Women's University are experiencing and realizing democracy through our protests.
Students actively resisted the school's undemocratic administration not only through campus protests, but also through protests over grades, leave of absence, and external demonstrations. A school is not just a space for delivering knowledge. It has the responsibility to protect students' rights and voices and help them grow as part of its role as an educational institution. However, Dongduk Women's University has ignored this duty, suppressing students' voices and taking oppressive actions, thereby undermining the essence of an educational institution. The more serious issue is that the government and regulatory bodies, who should correct this situation, are failing in their roles. This is not just the problem of one school, but a glaring reflection of the widespread corruption and structural limitations present in Korean society. When both educational institutions and the government fail to fulfill their roles, where can students turn to for protection? In 2025, democracy at Dongduk Women's University is still unrealized, and students are still waiting for spring.